Hey, what's up guys? So today we are going to be installing these Stage 2 272 cams in my hybrid swap. Okay guys, so we're going to be putting the cams starting out in this head. This is a 2002 WRX 2-liter head. So you're only going to need a few things. You're going to need rags, obviously, to clean everything, a 10mm socket, a torque wrench that goes from 7 foot-pounds to 14.5 foot-pounds, some engine assembly lube, and some ultra gray. Okay guys, so after you've cleaned everything up and made sure there's no debris left, you're going to want to get some of your engine assembly lube, and we're going to want to lube up all these. So I hope you can see that, but each one of these you're going to want to make sure you lube up all around the sides. Put a little bit on the inside, and I put a little bit on top of the spring too, just to make sure that everything really moves smoothly. Just kind of show what that looks like. I put a little bit on the side and a little bit on the inside. Now you gotta be careful, this stuff makes a huge mess. So then on the inside I just get all that lubed up and around the top, and then on this outside just get a nice layer on that just to make sure that everything slides properly. Now be very careful when you do this. All these are a specific size, so they may all differ, so you want to make sure you do one and put it right back in the exact hole. Yes, so each of these is a different size, and they all are gapped to a specific length. So again, you want to make sure you put everything back in the same hole it came out of. So you're going to want to do that to every single one. Make sure everything is all nice and lubed up. And then we're going to take some lube. Just going to put a little bit on the top of each one. It's okay if we make a little bit of a mess here. And we're just going to make sure each one is very lubed up on top, because this is again where your cams are going to hit. Okay, so once we're done with that, I'm going to go ahead and kind of clean up all my surfaces, because we don't want any of this engine grease getting in the way of when I put gasket maker on this for my valve cover gasket. So we're just going to go ahead and clean up all the surfaces really good. Okay, so the next thing we're going to want to do is get a little bit of the engine assembly lube on each one of these journal bearings. Now the manual says to make sure just to put a little bit on, because we don't want it squirting out into the sides. We're just going to make sure we get a nice layer, a nice thin layer. And we want to be especially careful on these out here, because if any squirts out, it will get into, again, especially on these, it'll get into our gasket maker relatively easily. So just nice, thin, even layer all the way around. And then once again, we're going to just clean up any surfaces that we might need to clean up. Okay, so we got everything nice and lubed up. Now I have the cams in a specific order, so I know which one goes where. So this one says LEX, and that means left side, and the X means exhaust. And your exhaust cam goes on the bottom side of the engine, so it'll go right in here. And for these, you want to line these up. It may take a sec, but just be really slow and patient with it, and then set them down. As you can see, they're in there and everything seems to be moving nicely. Now this one says L and then IN, and that's your intake side, so that would go up top. So line them up really carefully. This may take a sec, and then set them down. And this one too seems to move nicely. Now we don't want to move them too much, because we don't want to get any of the engine lube up on these surfaces, but we'll turn them a tad bit just to make sure they seem really smooth. And as you can see back there in the corner, I have all the caps that go on them all in order, so I know what goes where. And I also marked on the block 7, 8, 9, and then I marked it on the caps also. So next what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to get these two back caps, and then we're going to put just a touch of engine lube. And then we're going to roll it in. And then we have the 8 sticking out. We're just going to make these hand tight for now. Now, if you can see right here, you probably can't, but I'll grab another one. This is the one for the back, and it has an arrow, and the arrow points forward towards the front of the car, so you can know which way it goes, which is that way and not the other way around. Again, these are journal bearings, so you want to make sure they go in the exact way that they came out. Now there's something we need to notice when we're doing this. So these back screws, while they all have the same size heads, these 4 screws are all relatively thick. I can get this one out real quick. Whereas the ones in the front are relatively small. Now, in the instructions manual, or in the Subaru manual, it says to tighten all the bolts down to 14 pounds. That's actually only for your back bolts, or 14.5 pounds. That's only for your back bolts because they are thicker. These we're only going to tighten down to 7 pounds, but we're going to mess with these here in a few minutes. So the other thing I meant to do but didn't do was put a little bit of ARP lube on each one of these bolts. I'm not sure what exactly Subaru would call for. I'm sure some sort of oil would work, but we're just going to go ahead and use ARP lube. Okay, so we got them all lubed up, so we're just going to want to make sure that all these are hand tight. We don't want to torque these down yet because it's a certain sequence, and we want to make sure that we get the caps on before we bother with that. We want to make sure everything tightens down really smoothly. You may want to chase the threads first, but again, I know everything should be smooth and good to go. So we have those 4 hand tight. We're going to go ahead and lube up these little bolts, and then we'll be good to get the cam caps on, and then torque everything down. Okay, now we're going to make sure we're all clean, because we're going to have to be putting on gasket maker on these surfaces right here. So I'm going to make sure everything looks super clean. Now the manual shows that you're supposed to put gasket maker on, but it doesn't really give you a good description of where. So I had to do a little bit of digging around online. Basically what happens is these sit right here. So from here to here, there's nothing keeping oil from seeping out the sides. So we just got to put a little gasket maker around this outer edge. But first we're going to go ahead and clean this up, put some fresh engine assembly lube on it. So we're going to rub all that in. And I'll be careful to keep it a little bit away from the edge so we don't have any issues. So we've got our ultra gray. We're going to apply it to this side, and I'll show you where. And then when we put it on, we should be good to go. Now this does get torqued down, so we want a very little amount. We want this to be as thin as possible. And we're going to try to keep it a little bit away from there so none squirts out, because this is where our cam seal is going to go. We're going to make this just a good deal thinner. Again, we don't want this to interfere with the torque that we'll be using on these. Okay, so this is basically what you want to see. So we're trying to keep it away from these edges so that way if any squirts in, it won't go into the cam journal, because that would cause a huge amount of trouble. And then this is just going to get set. Whoops. right like this. Just going to squish it down. And then we're going to take our 2 screws. Okay, and then the manual has a tightened sequence, as you can see. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F. So A, B, C, D, E, F. Now the slight issue here is that all these are 7.5 pounds, whereas these are all 7 pounds, whereas these are 14 pounds. You can see it calls for 14.5 pounds, but I wrote the cam cap, 7 pounds. Okay, so we have all the caps on, and everything is hand tight. So now we're gonna torque everything down. We're going to be torquing all these down. So these both are 7, these are all 14. We're going to do everything 7 first and then go to 14. So we're going to do A, B, and then A, B, and then we'll do the rest. So it's A, B, C, D, E, F. So we have okay. 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 And then the 2 middle ones. And then these top ones. Alright, now we're going to be adjusting this to 14 foot-pounds, or 14.5, sorry. So it's going to be, so we did A, B, so it's C, D, E, F. And this torque wrench isn't very loud if you can't hear it. Okay. Okay. Alright. Now these may be hard to turn since they just first got torqued, but nope, we're good. We're good. One more thing, just to double check everything, I'm going to be testing these with another torque wrench. This is an inch-pound torque wrench, so 7 foot-pounds is equivalent to 84 inch-pounds. So we're just going to be testing everything, again, just to make sure that everything was good in case my other torque wrench is a little off. Okay, and now we're going to go to, for 14.5 foot-pounds, is around 174 inch-pounds. Good. Alright guys, that is how you install cams in your EJ motor. Again, this is the EJ 205, but this is a dual overhead cam. Should be similar for most other Subaru options that you're working on. Anyway, thank you guys. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. More content will be coming along soon.